If you're shopping for an all-in-one AIO PC in 2025, one of the biggest questions is, can I upgrade it later? The answer is, sort of, but with many caveats. All-in-one PCs look great. The screen plus computer in one sleek unit. They're perfect for clean desks, home offices, shared spaces. But under the hood, they often carry the limitations of laptops when it comes to upgrading. So today we'll walk through what upgrades are realistic for AIO PCs, what upgrades are nearly impossible, how to check a model before you buy, and whether upgrading a given AIO is worth it. By the end, you'll know how to pick an AIO that either supports your future needs or accept its limited upgrade path. What upgrades are often possible? While AIOs are more restricted than towers, there are some common upgrades you can do. They're not guaranteed, but they're the most realistic. 1. RAM, memory. One of the top upgrade options. Many AIOs allow you to add more RAM. According to upgrade guides, adding more RAM is one of the easiest upgrades on most AIO PCs. If you pick an AIO with access panels or that advertises user upgradable RAM, you can often pop off the back cover or stand and install new memory sticks. Why you'd upgrade? If you find your system slows down when you multitask, open many browser tabs, run creative apps, adding more RAM usually gives a noticeable boost. What to check? How many RAM slots are available? Is the existing RAM soldered or removable? Some AIOs solder part or all of the RAM? What's the maximum supported RAM? What RAM type is used, e.g., DDR5 versus DDR4? If the AIO says 16 GB soldered plus 1 slot free, you'll know your upgrade path is limited. 2. Storage, SSD/HDD. Another common upgrade, storage. Most AIOs have some kind of SSD, M.2, NVMe, or 2.5-inch SSD, or possibly a 2.5-inch/3.5-inch HDD bay. You can often replace a small SSD with a larger one or add a second drive if there is space. For example, one guide says, storage can be upgraded on most AIO PCs by adding a larger hard drive or SSD. Why you'd upgrade? If you run out of space or the system feels sluggish because storage is full, upgrading to a larger/faster SSD helps boot times and responsiveness. What to check? Does the AIO list an M.2 slot or SATA bay? Is the SSD soldered or removable? Is there any extra drive bay for a second storage device? Is the system set up with battery or internal drive in an odd location? If you can add a drive, that's a tangible upgrade and adds years of life. 3. External upgrades and accessories. While internal upgrades might be limited, you can often improve your AIO via external additions, external monitors, external graphics, via Thunderbolt/USB-C GPU if supported, better peripherals, extra USB hubs. If your AIO has a Thunderbolt 4/USB-C port with display and GPU support, you might use an eGPU enclosure, but this is rare in AIOs and may be limited by thermal/power constraints. In practice, many AIO owners choose to extend life by connecting external storage, monitors, docking stations, or external graphics, rather than opening the unit itself. What upgrades are usually not possible or not worth it? Here's where the limitations come in, and where many AIO buyers run into frustration. 1. CPU, processor. Upgrading the CPU in an AIO is rarely possible. Many units have the CPU soldered to the motherboard, or the cooling/thermal design won't support a higher power chip. Guides say most AIO PCs have the CPU integrated onto the motherboard, making processor upgrades impossible. Why you'd like to upgrade? Maybe you want faster rendering, encoding, or multi-core performance. Why you almost can't? The socket is often non-standard or missing, cooling too weak, warranty voided, and the process becomes as complex as replacing a laptop motherboard. 2. GPU, graphics card. Similarly, upgrading the GPU in an AIO is mostly off the table. Most AIOs use integrated graphics or mobile/laptop style GPUs, and they lack the space, power supply, or slots for a full desktop GPU. One review bluntly said, "The only parts that you can upgrade in an all-in-one desktop PC are the RAM and storage. GPU is not upgradable." Why you'd want to upgrade? For gaming, 3D design, VR, or GPU accelerated apps. Why you cannot? No PCIe X16 slot, limited power delivery, fixed cooling, display built into chassis. 3. Display panel. The built-in screen of the AIO is part of the whole unit. You typically cannot replace just the panel or upgrade to a higher resolution without replacing the entire device. One article said, "You're stuck with one display for the life of the AIO PC. You either have to get the entire thing repaired or purchase an entirely new AIO PC." Why you'd want to upgrade? Maybe you want a 4K panel, higher refresh rate, or dual monitors. Why you can't, won't. The screen is integrated. If you want more screen space, you might be better off adding an external monitor or moving to a tower. How to check upgrade potential before you buy. Since upgrade potential is variable, it's smart to check this before purchasing an AIO. Here are the steps. Review the spec sheet. Does it mention upgradable RAM? Is the RAM type listed? SODIMM versus soldered. Does it mention extra storage slots? Open reviews/teardown videos. See what others found when taking the unit apart. Did they find empty RAM slots, removable drives, or was everything sealed? Check the service manual. Some brands release access guides or manuals that list upgrade steps. Warranty and service terms. Determine if opening the unit voids the warranty. Some AIOS make access easy. Others require special service. Ask the community. User forums often reveal which upgrades are realistic. For example, maybe you can upgrade RAM and SSD, but being an AIO, you probably don't have many options. Plan your usage. Decide how many years you expect to keep the PC and how your needs may evolve. If you expect to upgrade heavily in 3 to 5 years, consider a desktop instead. When does it make sense to upgrade an AIO? If you bought an AIO and feel performance lagging, you might still get useful life out of it by upgrading selectively. Here's when it's worth it. You're mostly doing productivity, streaming, web work, and you notice slowdowns only in storage/RAM. Upgrading RAM or SSD can give a big bump. The unit has extra RAM slots or free storage bays. You're comfortable opening the chassis or servicing, and the warranty allows DIY upgrades. You don't need a major GPU or CPU upgrade. You just want smoother performance. Real-world tips for upgrading an AIO. If you decide to try, back up your data before opening the unit or swapping drives. Use compatible parts. Many AIOS use laptop-style SODIMM or specific M.2 form factors. Watch cooling. If you add more powerful storage or RAM, ensure your cooling isn't already maxed. Cramped design means heat builds up. Keep tools and documentation ready. Some AIOS require special screws or access panels. Update BIOS/firmware. If you're adding new RAM or storage, check for firmware updates. Know the risk. Some upgrades may void warranty. Proceed carefully. Consider external upgrades. If internal options are minimal, add external SSDs, USB-C hubs, external monitors, or eGPU if supported. So when choosing or buying an AIO in 2025, plan for the long term. Pick a model with as many accessible upgrade paths as possible if you expect your needs to grow. If you don't expect heavy upgrades and you mostly want a clean, convenient setup, then choose an AIO that simply meets your needs today and enjoy the simplicity. If upgradability is important to you, especially for gaming, 3D, creative work, you may be better off with a traditional desktop where adding parts, upgrading, and customizing is far easier. In short, know the limits, plan ahead, and decide if your AIO is upgrade ready, or if you'll accept its sealed future. That way you won't buy a machine only to outgrow it too soon.